Hi, I'm Shana Lipner-Grover from Sage Country Herbs, and we're here in San Diego at Balboa Park's Trees for Health Garden, and we're going to go visit some of our plant friends. I am standing in a grove of our next tree to visit from the Trees for Health from trees around the world, and that is this gorgeous plant tree called eucalyptus. There are over 700 species of eucalyptus around the world. They are native to Australia, but they actually have been planted all over the world, and especially in Southern California, because they grow so fast. They thought that they could use all of this wood for things like railroad ties. Unfortunately, the wood of a lot of eucalyptus tends to be pretty splintery, but they do grow fast, and they actually are now known as an invasive because they grow so fast. But there's a lot to learn about eucalyptus, and actually most of us already know the scent because the scent of eucalyptus essential oil is very, very commonly used. It is actually an industrial solvent for cleaning. It is used in aromatherapy for breathing in and helping to open up the lungs. It tends to also be used historically, steaming the leaves where the leaves have the most essential oil content. Really great for an expectorant to help open up the lungs and expectorate out stuck phlegm. Also good for the sinuses. Historically, you find that people will actually use eucalyptus leaves and either rub it or even hit it against the skin when they're in a steam room, because it helps to open up the pores. That scent of eucalyptus has some of those menthol camphorous resins that are very well known in topical pain creams. So there's a lot of things about eucalyptus in terms of how it's been used historically. It's mostly having to do with the essential oils, and those essential oils are mostly found in the leaves. This tree is part of the Myrtaceae family, and the Myrtaceae is actually known for these strong aromatic leaves that tend to be really resinous. Now, that is a wonderful benefit, but it's also a detriment. 3/4 of the forests around Australia are actually primarily eucalyptus. And the problem is that because of those really resinous leaves, eucalyptus have adapted with fire. And unfortunately, sometimes those resinous leaves can be so energetic with a fire. It has been documented that some trees will actually explode from the intensity of the heat that the resinous leaves lead to with the fire. Eucalyptus are another tree that has a rather longevity. 35 to 50 million years eucalyptus has been on the planet. So it's definitely been here and has established itself in a wide variety of ecosystems. When you have 700 species of a tree, they're not all going to look the same. And one of the real characteristics that make eucalyptus interesting is the fact that there's different types of bark. Now, every eucalyptus tree sheds one round of bark every year. They grow a new round of bark and they shed that round of bark. Now, some of them will shed it in sheets, and those will be more of the thinner barks, like this. And you can even see that shedding happening. And then there's others that it'll only shed in strips, and some of those strips will stay on the tree. And over time, it actually almost looks papery and stringy. And so you'll have these layers of stringy bark hanging down, more fire fodder. So that aspect of growing bark and shedding bark is actually very, very commonly known with eucalyptus. So the leaves generally hang pendulous. That means they hang down like a pendant, like you'd wear on a necklace. The leaves are generally alternate, meaning they alternate each other on the stem, but when they're babies, they actually start being opposite. They opposite each other on the stem. Just a little interesting tidbit. One of the coolest things that binds all of these different hundreds of species together are the flowers. The flowers of eucalyptus are fascinating. We've talked about flowers in relationship to petals and sepals. Now, sepals are the outside whorl of a flower. To think about what a sepal is, think about a rose. Before a rose blooms, there are green flaps. They look like little leaves that holds that rose closed. And then once the petals open up, those green flaps kind of fall backwards. Those green flaps are called sepals. They're the outside whorl of a flower bud, and they help to protect the flower bud before it opens. Well, on eucalyptus, the sepals and the petals are actually non-existent unto themselves. They are fused together and they form a cup-like structure called an operculum. The operculum, it's really cool. It's this cup-like structure, and inside it houses the rest of the flower. Now, most of this flower is actually made up of stamen. That's the male part of the flower. Many, many, many showy stamen. And as they are growing and expanding inside this cup-like structure, once they get big enough, they pop the operculum off, and it literally drops around, and then you get this big showiness of these beautiful, beautiful stamen. Every eucalyptus tree has this operculum. It's a very evolved characteristic of the eucalyptus tree. Another thing these flowers are really well known for is they are great producers of nectar. And this nectar is wonderful because it draws in pollinators. So that means that the flowers are going to get pollinated more efficiently. It draws in birds that like to lick the nectar. It also draws in bats. Even opossums are known to crawl up eucalyptus trees to be able to access that sweet, delicious eucalyptus nectar that comes from these beautiful big flowers. Now, the most common species known is Eucalyptus globulus. The reason it's the most common one known is because that's the primary species that we actually get eucalyptus essential oil from. But there are other essential oils from other species. The other most common one is called the lemon eucalyptus, and it also has those same similar characteristics, but it has some citrus notes. And part of those citrus notes make it a wonderful insect repellent. As a matter of fact, lemon eucalyptus has actually gone head-to-head in some studies against DEET as a repellent of insects. So for those people that want to try and do more natural insect repellent, lemon eucalyptus essential oil in a carrier oil can be really helpful. So I would encourage you, if you're in San Diego, come to the Trees for Health and take a walk and check out. There are so many beautiful eucalyptus trees, and they flower in the summertime. So summertime is a great time to come and visit, but really any time. But also, these trees grow around the country and around the world. So go say hello to a eucalyptus near you.